Hi guys, good evening. Thank you for stopping by for my video for week 4. Um, Time-wise, I'm still working on some styling for the components as well as this main blog page. Please forgive my somewhat ignorance and um, lack of experience in that regard. CSS again is something I've struggled with kind of uh, pretty bad when I first took our first intro to CSS course, or course that introduced us to CSS a few months back. And of course, this is not scalable right now in terms of media queries. Again, that's another thing I've struggled with a bit and have audited DWS2 to try to better understand that in between work and classwork, etc. However, believe it or not, in terms of pros and cons about my experience from the beginning of class to the end of class, if I may start with that tonight on the video, is I've come a lot farther than where I've been. Some people may look at it and say, geez, Chad, you need a lot more work. And that is true. If I may be my own worst critic. But for the basic styling of this here, the color, I wanted to imitate pool water. Again, swimming is a big passion of mine. Exercise wise, as I said at the beginning, exercise science was my original major. My background with computers was in hardware software repair. I did not get into web marketing and web design. Well, web marketing a few years ago, but web design until I started the degree program. Nonetheless, there have been a couple cases where, kind of in an impromptu session, I would be given a project in class before, and it's like, okay, we've taught you all this in CSS, go do it, and you have 24 hours to do it. And I didn't do as well as I should have. But moving forward, what you see here, which I promise you I will research and work more on tonight in terms of trying to, again, like to see this border, getting it to make the it fit the photo fully, and trying to get these images centered a bit, perhaps, and trying to get these colored more to look more like a button rather than a link with a border around it. Then style-wise, also background-wise, I could probably put a background border or photo, which I might try to add tonight too, in that regard. However, excuse me one second. Okay. My biggest thing I want to try to focus my time on the rest of this evening as I can, because I have some work stuff going on tonight too, but nonetheless, if I take a look at, finally I got my links to work, but right now I'll continue to look at the index.html file because I still need to push some more changes I recently made into GitHub. Nonetheless, this header, for example, now Professor Bloom helped me with this morning, so it's even a little more cleaned up than what it was. But guys, experience-wise for me, being very fresh to new design, and I don't want to make too many excuses, but looking like this and being able to come close in that regard with only really lacking in terms of what I will continue to try to work on tonight is the rectangle or the input for the search bar. So I can, instead of having a search button or a link, I can go back here and try to style this out a little bit better. But Professor helped me out with a lot today, so that still helped me grow. To show you one where I tried to do it strictly on my own, and I will continue to work on it this evening to see if I can better it, is this call to action here. You got this kind of like shadow, or not gradient, but background. It kind of takes the glare off with the photo here, done in Photoshop, etc. And again, you might look at this and say, okay, that's pretty cool. And again, that's not my work. My work is down here. I switched out the image because I couldn't find the other image to put in the background. I'm going to try to find a way to make this image more clear. I don't know if I can or not. I tried to, instead of just originally what I did was took a screenshot of this image here, these three boxes, and positioned it. But again, what I did was I went into Photoshop and see if I can switch back and forth here. One second. Go here. Pardon me. Okay. I can switch back and forth. Better. Okay. Now the positioning of the taxi, I got a little messed up, as you can see with that and with the call us 24 hours. Where I was able to succeed a bit was trying to get this color-wise situated with the call us and the hours, 24 hours, giving it that lighter blue color, as you kind of can see here. I'm going to try to match that color more closely tonight with the Photoshop tools that I have. The 800 number, I'm going to try to, I think it has enough margin and padding. It's bold, it's as close as I think I can make it now. Whether it should be bold or not, I'm not sure. Again, it looks a little thicker than this does, but I will continue working on that tonight. I have, the get better results, save 20%, full name, email, phone, submit, get 20% discount. I got all that HTML-wise here. Where I'm struggling a little bit is to design the box around it, and then this button. Again, I will continue working on that this evening as best as I can before midnight to try to get the links that I post in the next few minutes to the submission on FSO. Tonight I will work as hard as I can, and if Professor gives me maybe a little time to touch up further, I will continue to. But again, just to try to not be too harsh on myself, because I know experience-wise I should be a little more caught up than this, but I am a little bit proud that I was even able to get this far, and I have several ideas running through my head that I know I could probably be a little more efficient at this moving forward between now and midnight. And again, please don't think I was procrastinating. It was just more between work and really, working and just trying to take some time and really work this out a little bit better, comprehensive-wise. It's where my struggle is a bit. I will admit that, and that's where I need to grow moving forward. But I have grown a lot. I am proud of the growth I've made. But let's move forward. Next component. I know that one needs more work, but let's go down here to the call to action. All right, let me actually do this. Yeah. Okay. We go down to the feature. Open this up, and ideally, I went over this with Professor Bloom this morning when he was helping me a bit. Ideally, this is close, the color, positioning, etc. Where he guided me and gave me some wisdom further on and reiteration from class was how I structured this with the HTML. So positive-wise, I was able to get a lot farther than I thought I would have, and it didn't look as messy and spacey and all that stuff. However, content versus display, that's where I'm going to try to grow more tonight in what he described for me earlier in my notes to work on. That's relating to the HTML for component 3 as well as the CSS. Component 3, I got these separate unordered lists versus being able to position more with the CSS without having to have the separate lists, in terms of the broad perspective. I will continue working on that this evening. And probably the way in which I made these images how I originally made these images, excuse me, how I originally made these images, all I basically did was I used my screen capture here, Jing, went around it, it had some gray background, and then all I did was set a border radius to 0, I mean, sorry, 50%, and position the photo with the CSS, sorry, with the CSS that you would see here. Okay, you know, absolute border radius 50% right, 210 pixels. Again, I have my notes on that that I will continue to work on moving forward and hopefully grow more from what Professor Bloom went over with me earlier this morning in some assistance he was giving me. To move forward, sorry. Let's go down to the About section, the About Us, the drills that we have, and what is this? About. Why did I name it feature? I need to change that. Okay. Here, again, this is again maybe mediocre, but as close as I could get at that time. You know, the About Us, got the images of the drills and positioned them and lorem ipsum, etc. And basically, let's see here, HTML About Us. I have, you know, these figures, the images, the H2, the paragraphs, and position them with, you know, these positioning structures here, absolute, relative. How I will probably change that tonight on the additions, I will put more text here in the paragraph to make it look more like its original image here. I might change the font a bit because this is not exactly the same as this. Obviously, it's a little more playful in design, and that's probably where, you know, I'll go with that in that regard. In terms of coding, I cleaned up a little bit in terms of the spacing I was using and the white space I was using in my code that Professor had here. It's a small change, but it makes it easier to read. So, you know, adjusting to that really helps, hopefully, me and then anyone that would look at this file in terms of collaboratively helping me out or working on it. If I go down to the blog, I hope I didn't misspell that one. No, I didn't. Okay. What's hot on flow swimming? Again, what I will do tonight is what I'll do tonight is try to get this in Photoshop and match this color perfectly. I know I'm a little brighter than I need to be in the actual component that I built out. Yeah, it's brighter, it needs to be darker. We can fix that. And again, the images here that I have representative of the video links you see in the hyperlinks. The difference is I need to make these hyperlinks versus text. I will switch that up and then try to get that color changed up here. The biggest thing I kind of got maybe redundant on because it was working, and again, that wasn't probably the best thing to do in terms of further research, but was down here, what's this, C6? What's the contact us now? I want the blog. It's on flow swimming. I got these sections, and I've got a lot of them with IDs. Basically made each one a section. Image, paragraph, closed it off. And I positioned them absolute and then use these different positioning structures here. Professor Bloom went over with me earlier today a little bit more about properly not necessarily using this, but using more of the what's the word? Pseudo classes, etc. I think, which I will spend a lot more time on tonight if I can, to try to get that positioned. So in this case here, I apologize for the IDs. I will do my best to try to clean that up a bit. So that's one of the weaknesses. But now, and the strengths, knowing that that can be changed, and I will look more into it tonight as best as I can from what we went over with the videos and the research. I will try to clean that up as much as possible. On the positive side, again, position-wise, I was almost as ignorant as trying to make a table out of this, and I was told by a professor a long time ago that that was very out of date, and so I will try to, I'm proud in the respect that I was able to get close in terms of rows and columns. That's probably the biggest accomplishment I had in terms of growth and learning how to do it better, and I look forward to changing that. Okay, let's go to components. Contact us blog. The contact us section here. Again, if I go back here, close. I'm going to try to get this color better. Got the positioning. I need to change a little bit with these rectangles. I was kind of proud of this. I know it's simple in terms of design, but in terms of getting these rectangles put together and finding the code to make them and position them properly to come close, I would have struggled with that pretty badly a few months ago, and it was a lot nicer to see growth in that regard for me. So contact us. Here we go. Here's the HTML. Again, I got a div with an ID of rectangle 1, which is this, and rectangle 2, 3, and 4. And of course, I styled them in the CSS with height, background, border, and then positioning it, and then that's how I got that going. We'll adjust them moving forward. Whether it's the best way to do it, I'm not sure. But I am, growth-wise, on the positive side, I was able to get that a little bit better. So let me go over here to the login registration. I do apologize time-wise, guys, because I've got to get going a bit. Need a little more work on this tonight. As I moved forward, it got a little harder. Login or sign up, as you can see, got a little bit better with the positioning there. This X one, let's try to style that better. Margin and padding, I need to change this up a bit. A little too much between the paragraph here and the border here. Again, I'm going to try to position these a little bit better with margin or padding or etc. with you know, the address. Got the bold character. I think it was that bold. No, it was. It needs to be changed back to bold. I can adjust that. The biggest thing, again, struggling with this little checkbox here for tonight, I might just put the image in as a place filler, if you may, and I'm trying to style this login button or link a little bit more to look like a button. And again, this is a lot smaller, so I will also probably try to adjust after discussing with Professor Bloom this morning about max width and absolute positioning versus relative positioning, block elements versus inline elements. So I grew a lot just this morning alone in working with him and also reverting back to the videos again. So I look forward to getting that cleaned up better. Down to the footer. If I have to be a little pessimistic towards myself. This is probably one of the harder ones again. And forgive any of the redundancy here on 8, 9, and 10 from video 3, because I am continuing to work on this tonight and research, but I just wanted to get this video up to you guys. Again, bike store, got these images for the social media. Again, this is a screenshot. I'm going to try to use the different selectors that we had gone over with the videos with the professor to make these more from text and then replace the text with the images, which I think I did a little bit. I don't know, no, that's a screenshot. I'm sorry. Yes, I will work more on that tonight. The home portfolio blog context, got the links up. I'm going to try to continue more on continue more on getting them moved over to the right. Again, whether I'll use absolute positioning or not, or blog styling, or etc. I will try to fix that. Biggest thing is down here with the button and the spacing and the line, which I'm going to try to develop further tonight. Okay. I'm running a little short on time here, so let me try to get wrapped up. My battery's a little low. Non-alcoholic beverage. Again, this shouldn't be as hard, but what I'm struggling a little bit with is the image, background image-wise. A lot broader and thicker, and how I was doing that code-wise was in here with the HTML bike store. This is 9 drinks CSS. The background, so it would stretch across the screen, and basically what I did was I took a screenshot of what you see here, kind of like from here over, and I'm going to, I don't think Photoshop would be the best of, I think I can still do that in CSS in terms of narrowing it and giving it more white space. I don't know, if not, maybe I'll just run it through Photoshop and try to increase the space around here in that regard so it's a little more centered and I can position this text better and style it a little bit more accordingly with the bold and the font face, or the font type. That's what I look forward to changing there and growing with. Finally, got the news article. Again, on my news article, you don't see that big picture of Ryan Lochte because that's actually part of the video feed that you will see. Excuse me. Where is it? I've got both of these open. Sorry. A little tired today. A lot of time between stuff. Okay, yeah, a lot more white space on the top, but down here, got the video bar. I'll try to adjust that because originally that fit. Let's see here. Originally that fit more across evenly with. I'll try to look more into that tonight. Got the border around the follow Ryan Lochte. I'm going to try again styling that button. One of the other things I've struggled with a bit. Got this. I'm going to try to position this a bit better. Got this going on okay by Chris Chavez at FlowTrack, as you can see here. And then the Twitter icon and the email and embed, I want to position those a little bit better. I was able to actually get that with text, I think, and I'll probably try that on a couple components back. Where is it? Tweet. Okay, here it is. The link with the image, so it made it into a link, and that was one thing I actually struggled with. I was like, okay, I got an image, got a link, how do I make them to go together? Did some research, and okay, boom, there you go, simple. Right before my eyes, just didn't see it, but as you can see, they're both, should be links 1, 2, and 3. They're both linked. Oh, 3 of them are links, so I was able to get that accomplished at least, so happy I grew in that regard. Again, I'm going to try to position them, whether it was with absolute relative positioning. Floating these right, I don't know if that's the right thing, the email and the embed. I'm going to try to stretch out that embed photo a little more because it's all bunched up. And then you know, log in with Flow Swimming or to content, a comment. Oh, sorry, got this box down here. Chris Chavez, chatting with Ryan Lochte, etc. As you can see that they have here. Again, I'm going to try to change that up a bit spacing wise, and then log in down here. I'm going to change the color on this with Photoshop so it's not that gray image here. So yes, in retrospect, starting out it gets good. Going down through my components, aside from the second one, it gets a little worse. If I have to be a worse critic for myself, being a good critic, I know comparatively to my classmates, I'm probably still a little behind the curve. Do I regret that a bit? Yes, but I also am still learning and learning quickly. I'm still researching more of this tonight. I'm going to definitely be hitting it more over the weekend, just for the sake of trying to continue to make it aesthetically look better, as well as semantically. The biggest thing I learned this year and this month, was the semantics of the code, especially HTML. I mean, when we had the HTML5 chart, wow, you know, before, even when I looked back when I first made this blog page, very first made it on week 1, it was full of divs and IDs and everything like that. And even looking at it, there's still some in there that I want to take some time tonight and try to go back and redo with proper selectors. The most frustrating thing for me is the simple things that are a little more complicated than what you think. Example here, this border trying to fit around the photo as it scales, evenly. I remember doing that in one of my classes, but I don't remember specifically how. I will look into that tonight and hopefully get it situated. Because again, you see it kind of fits there, but not so much so for the rest of that. Is probably, I'll look more into that on the DWS2 course in terms of making it a little more responsive. This should be, I didn't push that yet, so let's go back to here. Getting able to center these out. Again, a little bland on the design of the blog page. I'm going to try to see if I can get something a little better with the border, with more of a proper background image. Otherwise, I might just keep this color because it's got the color of a pool. This whole theme that I went with was about swimming and making it better. So that's something I don't want to deviate from in that regard. Up here, I might make this circular. I might make the border radius, or make the radius here 50%, as well as here make it circular. Some simple touches. If any of you guys see this tonight and have any suggestions, if you're allowed to suggest, I'm not sure academic policy-wise what that says, or if Professor Bloom looks at it tonight and has any input, would be greatly appreciated. But I want to continue working hard on this, guys, tonight. I've grown so much, especially this last week with learning about, in the post-mortem, more about CSS animations, SAS, and etc., as well as responsive positioning without media queries, from what I've even seen through that. Again, my comprehension is still grasping it a little bit, but being open to it more, and actually even having some time tonight to just have to myself and really just hone in more, as well as over the weekend on the material. I look forward to growing from this. I could sit here and probably berate myself pretty bad on where I should be, but I still believe I've grown leaps and bounds, and have got a great passion to want to continue to learn more and continue to get this right. Hopefully tonight I'll get some more of these smaller issues on the blog page knocked out, as well as some of the components. I just want to get this video up. I thank you, Professor Bloom, so much for your patience with me from the stuff I was through when I tried to attempt the class last month, and then had the funeral of my friend and a couple other things I had to take care of. So doing it this month, again, still might have struggled a bit, but I also know moving forward we're going to get more into back-end stuff and need to be comfortable with this. And I'm not going to stop. I'm going to quit. I really love this major. I love what I'm going to be able to do with it. It's like a big puzzle. I'm just amazed with it every time. So it's ending in a positive. And guys, for the feedback, really, thank you so much for the research, especially this 4th week. I know writing style-wise, hopefully I was able to be as informative as I could, even for stuff I was still new to information-wise, but thank you so much for your help. your collaboration, your fellowship. I really, really appreciate it. And so I'm going to wrap up this video tonight with best wishes to Professor Bloom, to all of my fellow classmates as we move forward in whichever degree we're pursuing. Most of us, I believe, are web development majors. And really just kicking butt in a field and having fun in a career that's just going to be a blast moving forward for the rest of our lives, and a blessing to us. Thank you so much, everyone. I can't wait to see what's coming up ahead of time, and even look forward to working harder to succeed and do better moving forward and continuing to grow. Thank you once more. I sign off for tonight and for this month. Blessings, and talk with you guys later, perhaps. All right, good night.